invitation to have this interview with us. And well, the exile of Jews from Palestine never existed, but yet we have taken it for granted during all these years. How did that version of history start?
The exile is a myth. It started, by the way, by the Christian.
Okay.
It's in the origin, it's a Christian myth.
Okay.
You know, Adrianus expelled the Jews from Jerusalem in the second century after Jesus Christ. What is important that they expelled from Jerusalem. The first Christians started to say that he expelled them from all the Holy Land because they are not Christian. Then the responsible of the idea of the exile of the Jew from Palestine, Judea, that became Palestine at that time, was the Christian. But there is a preparation with the books of the Bible because of the first exile. First exile happened historically. Not the people was exiled, but the elite, political and religious elite, was expelled by the Babylonian. But the real exile, the exile of 70 after Jesus Christ didn't happen.
Only from Jerusalem.
Only from Jerusalem, outside Jerusalem. They didn't let, wasn't exile, they didn't let Jews to practice in Jerusalem. This is the origin of the myth. Now, Zionism took it for granted, but you see, what is strange, there is not even one research book, one historical research book about the exile. Everybody knows that the Jews were expelled from Palestine, Judea, Palestine, but there is not even one research book about this exile. There is not any historian that say that exile exists.
And nonetheless, Zionists took it for granted.
Not only this, they put it in the declaration of the Israeli state. If you want, in 47, 48, it's in the declaration. We were expelled. But it's a myth.
Okay, Professor Shlomo, you say that Zionism wasn't a religious movement, but then how come Zionism invites and has this power to call on Jews all over the world to go to Palestine?
I have to nuance it and correct it. First of all, the Jews, the real Jews, the believers, didn't want to go to the Holy Land at all. 2,000 years they didn't go to the Holy Land. They have not a right from a religious point of view to go there collectively. They could visit the Holy Land as persons. The Jewish religion wasn't for emigrate to the Holy Land at all. It was a holy place. It's not comfortable to go to live in a holy place. Try to go to Mecca, to live in Mecca. You understand? It was a place, the center of the world. And only when the Messiah will come, then he can bring with him all the Jews and all the dead Jews. Then the idea of going back to the Holy Land, to Palestine, to Judea, isn't Jew. Because the basic of the Jewish religion is against it in the establishment, the Jewish establishment, in the end of the 19th century, when the Zionists started, they were globally against it. I try to show it in my second book about the invention of the land of Israel. They were against it. Till the Second World War, most of the rabbis in the world, from Moscow to San Francisco, till the Second World War, all the Orthodox, most of the Reformists, conservatives were against immigration to Palestine. It changed after the Second World War. And not only this, Zionism from one side was a revolt against Judaism, you understand? A secular revolt, but they needed the religion to justify this will, Zionist will, to build a Jewish state.
Okay, and have
I hope that I was clear.
yeah, you've been clear, yeah. Have Jews along history always been a people?
Never. You see, I am a very simple-minded. I ask questions like a child, especially this child in the Andersen story. Hans Christian Andersen, that said that the king is, has not clothes. You heard about this little story. Then,
Not sure right now.
and you see, I ask simple questions. You know, I cannot call all the cats cats, all the dogs dogs. In one cat, I cannot call him one cat. I cannot call him dog. Why I say it? When you take the word people, you apply it to a human group that are living together on territory, have something in common, has a secular practic culture. For example, language, eating, singing, a lot of things, culture, daily culture. You cannot speak about a people that is not living together and don't want to live together. This is the reason that I can apply the word people about the Yiddish people in East Europe, you know, the Yiddish people that has a language, theater, parties. It started to crystallize there, and people, Yiddish people. I don't apply the word people about the Jews in the modern sense of the word people, because people have something, have something in common. A Jew in Kiev, a Jew in Marrakesh, has something in common, very, very important. It was religion. And all the practice around it, they believe in God. But they have not even one thing of secular common culture between Marrakesh and Kiev. They spoke different languages. They know that they belong to the Jewish people in the religious sense of the word people. Do you know that in the Middle Ages, here, the word people was applied to Christian? They say Christian people, God's people. It was peuple de Dieu in French, God's people in English. Today nobody will say Christian people. This is the reason that I say that there is not a Jewish people.
Okay. And then going back to Zionism, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but well, you made a clear distinction between the Jewish religion and Zionism.
And Zionism, yeah, it's not at all the same.
Okay, but then it draws the attention when we see, at least in the last decades, how religious people, Jewish religious people, go in Palestine, in the West Bank, for example, to occupy it. So, in the end, well, it draws the attention because they are very religious people. And what's the difference nowadays between religion and Zionism? What do you think?
You see, Zionism was a secular nationalist movement that take the human being as a subject of history. For all the religions, the subject of history is God. God is doing these things, not man. With Zionism, it was a revolt against the Judaism, and they put the man in the middle of the world, the middle of the history, in all this. Not only this, but nationalism. The characteristic of nationalism is that they need support, always the support. It was not enough, never, the idea of nation. To build a nation, you need a lot of support. Then if you want the Zionism as a colonialist movement had a symbiosis, a synthesis between nationalism and socialism. All the phenomenon of the kibbutz, it was to conquer the land with a lot of effort. In the basic of this colonization was a socialist nationalist movement, not at all religious. It was till 67. The religious people in Zionism were very, very moderate. Till 67, it was in face of the land, they were afraid. With Herzl, it's very interesting. They voted for Herzl when the question of Uganda, the project of Uganda, the religious Zionists, it was a minority. They voted for Uganda. You understand? 67 is a change that is specific to Israel because the secular Zionism started to lose power. Lose power because the colonization happened. Secondly, from the beginning, Zionism has a problem. The secular Zionism. They were speaking about Jews. They couldn't define who is a Jew. They needed all the time the religious criteria to define, till now, what is a Jew. They cannot define what is a secular Jew. You understand? Then they were dependent all the time of some religious basic to define what is Jew. When the myth of National Socialism started to break down, after 67, we see the phenomenon that nationalism, Zionist nationalism, looked after another support to mobilize the people, emotions and all this, and it was a symbiosis between nationalism and religion. It's not only a phenomenon in Israel. I think when you are speaking about the Middle East, you are speaking about fundamentalism. It's a stupid etiquette, because if you take Iran and you look to the textbook of the children in Iran, you will see that it is symbiosis between nationalism and modern Islam. It's not fundamentalism. The power of the Imam in the religious leadership in Iran was not only a religious power, it was a symbiosis between nationalism and religion. If you see the Hamas, the Palestinian movement, it's not a fundamentalism, it's a synthesis between nationalism and religion, because the secular power, the secular elite, lost their power to sacrifice, to mobilize people. You understand what I say?
Yeah.
Now, we see this phenomenon everywhere. The democratic movement in the Middle East today, it's not a combination between socialism and nationalism like before. It's a combination between Islam and nationalism, and they are the democratic power everywhere. Democratic not in a liberal sense, the popular power in Egypt, in Palestine. It's a combination between religion and nationalism. Hamas is a very nationalistic movement. It's not Al-Qaeda, it's not cosmopolitic, it's very Hezbollah is a very Lebanese movement of resistance. You have to understand, Iran is a very nationalistic Muslim. After the Iranian revolution in 79, 80, everybody say now this Islam will spread everywhere. It is a world revolution. It was stupid. It was a national, local Islamic revolution. And it reminds me the Western, what they say about communism in Russia in 1970, the same thing. It's an international movement. It wasn't. You understand what I say?
Yeah.
Going back, Zionism in religion, it's instrumental religion. You understand? Mental power in the end of the 20th century, the beginning, unfortunately, has to mobilize the religion to create popular movement. In Israel, the colonization is based on this synthesis.
Okay, got it. So then, regarding one of your last books, The Invention of the Land of Israel, how was this book received in Israel?
It was also a bestseller, like the first, less like the first one, because it was only 10 weeks a bestseller. The first one was 19 weeks.
Okay,
19. It was received, less bad like the first one. The first one was a hystery against me. You see, they thought that I'm a crazy guy, that it's not the political point of view. My political point of view didn't have, in the university wasn't a problem. The fact that I put the question about the Jewish people, Jewish nation, they become crazy. With the second book, they attack me, the Zionist historian, and all of them are Zionist historians that are working about Israel, Palestine, the colonization. All of them are Zionists, and they say that I don't have the right to write about this because I'm a historian of Europe.
Okay.
There is two departments. Department of the Jewish people and Department of General History. I belong to General History. I didn't have a right. But the book was, a lot of people bought it. A lot of young people bought it. And you see the last chapter of the book, The Invention of the Land, is about the university, about the territory that the Tel Aviv University is built. It's a Palestinian village, Sheikh al-Mu'anis, the name, and all the university is built on the land of this village that is disappeared in 48. And it was a friendly village of Zionism, even a collaborator of Zionism. It didn't help them a lot, you understand? The university is built, in the last chapter in the second book is about this story.
You also affirm in your previous book, the one, The Invention of the Jewish People, that that chances that the Palestinians are descendants from ancient Jews are higher than those from the Ashkenazis, Sephardim.
Yeah, sure. But it doesn't mean that they are the real Jews. It's stupid. I'm not a biologic, genetic.
But you affirm that as well.
The chance is much greater. Much greater.
So that seems like a provocation, no? In Israel, how did they react to that thesis? Well, you already told me that.
You see, they say like this.
Hysterical.
We know that there are a few Palestinians that came, but logically, you see, the fact that not only that I say it, I show that all the first Zionists, the first colon settlers, Ben Gurion, that was the first prime minister, Ben Tzvi, that was the second president, all of this group say it in 1919, 1920, they say the autochthon, the natives, they are the real Hebrew. They say it, not me. It was common. At the beginning, they have a point of view. Maybe we have, because they were so small, the Zionism, maybe we have to take a part of the natives to be a part of us. It was very, very short. But they say, history shows that it was never an exile there, and probably most of the falah, peasants, most of them are from Jewish origin.
The offspring.
All the first Zionists believe in this. Today, to say it today, I become a traitor. Especially that I quoted Ben Gurion. You understand?
Even though you quoted Ben Gurion. Okay. You say that before publishing The Invention of the Jewish People, you made sure you had become a full professor.
Yeah, it's a half joke, but it's true.
University of Tel Aviv to avoid any interference with your work. And anyway, did you notice any changes in your relations with other scholars, rectors from universities or other academic institutions?
Yeah, but you see, even if I consider Israel as a non-democratic state, because it doesn't belong to its citizens, I think it's a liberal state. I mean, there is a liberal play there. If not, I couldn't be a professor. But it's true that if I would write this book before getting a full professorship, there is any chance to become a full professor. Now, it's very complicated, but they don't like. You have to understand one thing. If I'm right, they are writing stupid things. Then they cannot accept me, you understand? They cannot accept a thesis, a doctorate thesis about this subject with my point of view. Because if I am right, they are producing garbage. It's unbelievable. Then I can understand their point of view, you see. I'm alone about this position. I showed that, I'm a historian, and I understood a lot of what is history, what is the function of history to construct historical consciousness and national consciousness. The same thing with, there are Palestinians that try to prove that they are the descendants of the Canaanian. They are like this. I met them. It's for me the same thing, not morally, but politically, historically, it's the same thing for me. Because I don't believe that, you see, I repeat it, if I don't believe that the Jewish people exist, today, there is the Israeli people. Zionism insists that the existence of a Jewish people is 4,000 years. I think that there is not a Jewish people for that. It was a religion, a very important religion. Mm-hmm. By the way, I don't like that today in Europe they use the word Judeo-Christianism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Everywhere. But they don't say Judo-Islam. Why this? In the Judaism is more closer to the Islam than to Christianity. Do you know it? Mm-hmm. Much more closer. If there is some logic in history, you have to say Judo-Islamism and not Judo-Christianism. Because, between Judaism and Christianism, there is the killing of the Son of God. It doesn't exist between Muslims. This is the reason that historically Jews live much better with Muslims than with Christians in history. Going back to the question, no, there is not a Jewish people, but there is an Israeli people. Okay. The Zionist colonization didn't succeed to create a Jewish people, but they succeeded to create two peoples. First of all, the Palestinian people. I don't think that without the Zionist colonization, we would have today a Palestinian people. So, and I don't think that without the Zionist colonization, we would have Israeli people. Why Israel is a people? Because people are speaking a language, people are living together, and they accept to be killed to keep their state. Okay? But I don't understand the Jewish and Lodge Anderlecht. They don't. Woody Allen doesn't want to live with me. How come that he is the Jewish people? He is not speaking my language. Now, you were surprised that I say that Zionism created the Palestinian people.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's good because I don't try to that people will like me. Now, why I said it? It's especially for you. Because, without Zionism, maybe we had today, a very strong people of Syrian and Palestinian together. Mm-hmm. It was an option. Without the Zionist colonization, maybe that it could be crystallized, another group, a national group. And the work of creation Palestinian people didn't finish yet. It will finish with the Palestinian state, because the state could finish this construction of a people. To explain you, I know that you don't like it, but 50 years ago, before you were born, Arabs in Galilee, Palestinians in Galilee, spoke a kind of language that was closer to the Lebanese than closer to the Palestinian in Jaffa. I know it. I spoke with people about it. I spoke with Mahmoud Darwish about it. Then you have to know that the Christianization of a Palestinian people is a process that was of the resistance of the Zionist colonization. You understand? Because, they were very near the Zionists to take also the Jordan, the other side. If they took 70 years ago also the other side, it was another Palestinian people. You understand me? People are invention in history. It's a new thing. No, it's a new, you have to know, 200 years ago, you went out here from Barcelona. Do you think that the Catalan people existed 200 years ago? No. It was a kingdom, but a peasant, 50 kilometers from here, a peasant, living in his village, speaking a kind of, language that is different from the city. He knows that he is Catalan.
Yeah.
No, no. He knows that he is a peasant. He knows that he is a Christian. He didn't know that it's Catalan. He knows that he is a Christian. He knows that he is peasant. Catalan, the king, the prince in the city. You understand? Only in the modernity we started to have real people. You understand?
Yeah, I do. Well, talking about colonization, how do you think the colonization of Palestine can be stopped?
It will not be stopped by internal forces in Israel. I lost hope. It can stop by two means: terror and sanction, or sanctions. As I am against terror, you can conclude what I was thinking.
BDS?
You see, I don't accept all the activity of BDS. For example, to give you one example, there are universities that cannot invite me. Mahmoud Darwish took the initiative to translate my first book about the Jewish people in Ramallah. I gave it to Madar in Ramallah. Now, they published the book. They make a very, very large party with a lot of people. They didn't invite me because I'm working at the Tel Aviv University.
So you would be partially for BDS?
No, it's not partially at all. It's another concept about what is, it's another concept. I mean, the pressure has to be on of the Western states to make sanctions of all the luxury product, because the Israeli people is a very hedonistic, materialistic. Instead of putting sanctions against Russia today, I want to save human being, that the Western will say to Israel, stop it. There is not any, the alternative is terror, again terror, you understand? And I don't believe that terror can really change something. And I'm against terror. Then what is left? I don't believe that the Israeli society will change from inside.
Okay. Just one last question, because we need to run away now. One of Israel's demands on Palestinians is the acknowledgement of Israel as a Jewish state. As an Israeli and a Jew, what do you think about this demand?
You see, you have to understand two things. As I told you, Zionism couldn't define what is Jewish. Nobody knows who is a Jew. Nobody, I mean a secular Jew. Now, they always needed the rabbis to define themselves as a Jew, the secular, the Zionist. Now they ask the Palestinians to confirm that they are a Jewish state. I don't believe that it's a Jewish state at all. It's an Israeli state. You see, I'm very moderate in politics. For the moment, I'm for two states, but not a Jewish state. An Israeli republic of all the citizens in a Palestinian republic. And I hope one day, when you will be a little bit older, we will have a confederation between these two states, you understand? But not a Jewish state. A Jewish state, to say a state is like to say that Spain belonged only to the Castilians. You can imagine it? There is a quarter of the population in Israel that is not Jew. How come that, to define Spain as a Castilian state, it's possible? How long it will stay? 48 hours? In Israel is asking for the world, and the American president was thinking, I am very happy that the Arab League decided to resist the American pressure and to support Abbas, not to recognize Israel as a Jewish state. That Israel will become a democratic state, it cannot never be a Jewish state.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Professor Shlomo San, for this interview.
Hacemos un plano de recursos y ya está.
Vale. Okay.
It was clear?